Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Merdeka. Utomo, Undang penerus Tarwin Winarso, Demung Gimen, Saron penerus 1 Marengat, Saron penerus 2 Karso, Peking Casrowi, Serendem Khairun, Ketuk Kempiang Madri Sukri, Gong dan Kempul Parni Hadi, Kendang Sukirno, Gambang Hartono, Wirosworo Suwadi, Wirosworowati Suryanti, Siti Umawaroh, Cabang Rawitan Hartono. Demikian ayaga yang bertugas pada kesempatan hari ini. Marilah kita perdengarkan gending, opo, broto, dan tombo ati. Selamat menyaksikan. La ilaha illallahul malikul haqqul mubin Muhammadur Rasulullah Sadiqul wa'dil amin. Muhammadur Rasulullah Sadiqul wa'dil amin. La ilaha illallahul malikul haqqul mubin Muhammadur Rasulullah Sadiqul wa'dil amin. La ilaha illallahul malikul haqqul mubin Muhammadur Rasulullah Sadiqul wa'dil amin. Kaping pindho salat wengi lakonono kaping telu zikir wengi ingkang suwe kaping papat wong kang saleh kumpulono kaping lima wetengira luwe nono duh prakanca sapa wae ingkang bisa nglakoni insyaallah ta'ala yang badani
tombo ati hono limo warnane kaping pisan maca Quran samanane kaping pindho salat wengi lakonono kaping telu likir wengi ingkang suwe kaping papat wong kang saleh kumpulana kaping lima wetengi luwih tono Prakojo sapa wae ingkang bisa ngelakoni insyaallah ta'ala nyamatani tombo ati ana lima warnane kaping pisan maca Quran samanane kaping pindho salat wengi lakonono kaping telu likir wengi ingkang suwe
Cek.
kang saleh kumpulana kaping lima wetengi
tombo ati ana lima warnane kaping pisan maca Quran sak maknane Zikir wangi ingkang suwe kaping papat wong kang soleh kumpulono kaping lima wetengira luwe nono duh prakanca sapa wae ingkang bisa nglakoni insyaallah ku ta'ala nyembatani
amati ana lima wenane kaping pisan maca Quran samanane kaping pindho salat wengi lakonana kaping telu pikir wengi ingkang suwe kaping papat wong kang soleh kumpulono kaping lima wetengira luwe nono prakanca sapa wae ingkang bisa nglakoni insyaallah ku ta'ala nyembatani
tombo ati ana lima warnane kaping pisan maca Quran samanane kaping pindho salat wengi lakonana kaping telu pikir wangi ingkang suwe kaping papat wong kang soleh kumpulono kaping lima wetengira insyaallah ku ta'ala ibadani. La ilaha illallahul malikul haqqul mubin Muhammadur Rasulullah Sadiqul wa'dil amin.
La ilaha illallah malikul haqqul mubin Muhammadur Rasulullah Sadiqul wa'dil amin.
La ilaha illallahul malikul haqqul mubin Muhammadur Rasulullah Sadiqul wa'dil amin. La ilaha illallahul malikul haqqul mubin Muhammadur Rasulullah Sadiqul wa'dil
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Merdeka!
Merdeka. Yang amat berhormat Syaykh Al-Zaytun, Profesor Dr. Abdus Salam Rashidi Panji Gumilang, Magister Pertanian beserta Umi dan keluarga. Yang terhormat Professor of Contemporary Islamic Studies at the Oxford University, Bapak Dr. Tariq Ramadan. Yang berhormat Ketua Pengawas Lembaga Kesejahteraan Masjid, Masjid Rahmatan Lil Alamin, Ustadz Dr. Mohammad Yusuf Rashidi, Agung Sidayu MBA. Yang berhormat Ketua Yayasan Pesantren Indonesia, Ustadz Imam Prawoto S.E.KU MBA, beserta seluruh eksponen. Hadirin peserta Silaturahim Topobroto yang berbahagia.
Kita bersyukur kepada Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala karena atas nikmat dan karunia-Nya pada hari ini, Ahad 15 Ramadan 1443 Hijrah, bertepatan dengan 17 April 2022 Miladiah. Kita dapat berkumpul di Masjid Rahmatan Lil Alamin, Sempena Silaturahim Syaykh Al-Zaytun bersama santri, wali santri, dan seluruh sivitas Al-Zaytun. Salawat serta salam semoga Allah curahkan kepada junjungan kita, Nabi Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Hadirin, telah pun disusun atur cara sebagai berikut. Pertama, pembukaan. Kedua, menyanyikan lagu Indonesia Raya. Ketiga, kuliah umum oleh Professor of Contemporary Islamic Studies at the Oxford University, Bapak Dr. Tariq Ramadan, dengan tema The Role, Peace, and Tolerance Culture to Combat Islamophobia. Keempat, Tausiah Syaykh Al-Zaytun. Kelima, penutup.
Hadirin yang berbahagia, dengan mengharap ridho Allah, mari kita mulakan acara ini dengan berbasmalah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Menyanyikan lagu Indonesia Raya. Hadirin, kami mohon berdiri. Demikian juga kepada seluruh hadirin yang mengikuti acara ini secara daring, kami mohon untuk berdiri.
Hiduplah Indonesia Raya, Indonesia tanah airku, tanah tumpah darahku. Di sanalah aku berdiri, jadi pandu ibuku. Indonesia kebangsaanku, bangsa dan tanah airku. Marilah kita berseru, Indonesia bersatu. Hiduplah tanahku, hiduplah negeriku, bangsaku, rakyatku semuanya. Bangunlah jiwanya, bangunlah badannya, untuk Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Indonesia tanah yang mulia, tanah kita yang kaya. Di sanalah aku berdiri untuk selama-lamanya. Indonesia tanah pusaka, pusaka kita semuanya. Marilah kita mendoa, Indonesia bahagia. Suburlah tanahnya, suburlah jiwanya, bangsanya, rakyatnya semuanya. Sadarlah hatinya, sadarlah budinya, untuk Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Indonesia tanah yang suci, tanah kita yang sakti. Di sanalah aku berdiri, jaga ibu sejati. Indonesia tanah berseri, tanah yang aku sayangi. Marilah kita berjanji, Indonesia abadi. Selamatlah rakyatnya, selamatlah putranya, pulaunya, lautnya, semuanya. Majulah negerinya, majulah pandunya, untuk Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya.
Hadirin disilahkan duduk kembali.
Atur cara selanjutnya, kuliah umum dengan tema The Role, Peace and Tolerance Culture to the Combat of Islamophobia oleh Professor of Contemporary Islamic Studies at the Oxford University oleh Bapak Dr. Tariq Ramadan, dipandu oleh Ustadz Mohammad Nasir S.Pd. Kepadanya kami persilakan.
Thank you very much for the MC. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Merdeka. The Most Honorable Grand Chancellor, Founder and Advisor of Lembaga Kesejahteraan Masjid, MASJID RAHMATAN LIL ALAMIN, Syaykh Al-Zaytun, Profesor Dr. Abdussalam Rashidi Panji Gumilang MP, Umi and family. The Honorable Chief of Supervisor Board of Lembaga Kesejahteraan Masjid, MASJID RAHMATAN LIL ALAMIN, Datu MYR Agung Sidayu MBA. The Honorable Chief of Yayasan Pesantren Indonesia, Al-Ustadz Imam Prawoto SA KU MBA. The Honorable Chief of Koperasi Desa Kota Indonesia, Miss Anis Hairunisa STHI. And the Honorable our speaker, Professor Dr. Tariq Ramadan, Professor of Contemporary Islamic Studies at the Oxford University, and all audiences rahimakumullah. Let's thanks to Allah who has given us blessing, merciful and healthy condition so we can gather in this beautiful occasion. Brothers and sisters, first of all, allow me to welcoming our guest speaker, Honorable Professor Dr. Tariq Ramadan. Welcome and thank you very much, Professor Tariq Ramadan, for joining us in our webinar, which we call it as Topo Broto. Today is the 685th Topo Broto since the beginning of this program in 2020. I hope your participation will be given us more knowledge. Having you, Professor Tariq Ramadan, is something really for all of us. I am Mohammad Nasir, teacher at Madrasah Aliyah Al-Zaytun, Indonesia, and I will be serving you as your moderator today. We will be hearing a presentation from Professor Dr. Tariq Ramadan on the very timely subject, the role of peace and tolerance culture to combat Islamophobia. But before we get started, I wanted to take a few minutes for your time. As previously explained by our speaker, the leader of Sri Lankan Muslim Congress, Honorable Rauf Hakim, Islamophobia is an international disease that is deliberately created and localized, even politically adopted in every country, which Muslim population, both minority and majority, as happened in Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, Middle East, even in Indonesia. Islamophobia itself stems from the Western fear of the rise of Islam and Muslims in the world due to the influence of the Muslim Brotherhood, a modernization movement founded by Allah Yarham Al-Shahid Hassan Al-Banna, the grandfather of Professor Dr. Tariq Ramadan. A movement that motivated the modernization movement among Muslims in the world, which was later accused of being the source of fundamentalism, radicalism, and terrorism, terms that were deliberately created to discredit Islam and Muslim, which are contrary to the teaching of Islam about peace and tolerance. In this regard, Hassan al-Banna said, Islam advises dutifulness and kindness between citizens even if their beliefs and religions differ, and keeping up good and kind manners toward them, as Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, we share the same rights and the same duties. After a long time, injustice has engulfed the Muslim Ummah, not only hatred that sacrificed 51 mosque worshippers in Christchurch, New Zealand, but millions of innocent victims in the Middle East as a result of the Islamophobic movement that resulted in suffering known as the Arab Spring and various divisions among Muslims in the Middle East. Islamophobia and its effect increased rapidly in this era of rapidly advancing ICT. Then, the UN General Assembly finally adopted a consensus on Tuesday, 15 March 2022, a resolution declaring 15 March as the International Day to combat Islamophobia. The resolution recognizes with deep concern what is said is an overall rise in instances of discrimination, intolerance, and violence, regardless of the actors, directed against members of many religious and other communities. It maintains terrorism cannot and should not be associated with any religion, nationality, civilization, or ethnic group, and calls for strengthened international effort to foster a global dialogue on the promotion of culture of tolerance and peace at all levels. With thanks to the UN General Assembly resolution above, which was sponsored by the 57 organization of the Islamic Cooperation members and 8 other countries, including China and Russia. But we cannot rely on the UN resolution because, as usual, we know resolution is only resolution. Islamophobia continues to attack Muslims from time to time, and its impact is felt as a trigger for division among Muslims themselves, something that has been the main target. considering the condition of Muslim and the enormity of the Islamophobic attack at that time, the Grand Chancellor named Al-Zaytun Indonesia as the center of education, peace, and tolerant culture development. 22 years later, he continues to motivate Al-Zaytun community members to implement peace and tolerance as an antidote to the Islamophobia that directly hit Al-Zaytun Indonesia with several baseless slanted accusations, except to bring down Al-Zaytun only, which all of its activities actually solely for the sake of Allah and the future Indonesia. Brothers and sisters, allow me to briefly introduce our guest speaker. Dr. Tariq Ramadan is Professor of Contemporary Islamic Studies at the Oxford University, teaching in the two faculties of Oriental Studies and Theology and Religion. He is also Senior Research Fellow and Governing Body Fellow at St. Anthony's College, University of Oxford, and Senior Research Fellow at Dosisa University, Kyoto, Japan, Visiting Professor at the College of Islamic Studies, Hamad bin Khalifa University, Doha, Qatar, Director of the Research Center of Islamic Legislation and Ethics, CILE, Doha, Qatar, President of the think tank European Muslim Network, EMN, in Brussels, and a member of the International Union of Muslim Scholars. He holds an MA in Philosophy and French Literature and PhD in Arabic and Islamic Studies from the University of Geneva. In Cairo, Egypt, he received one-on-one intensive training in classic Islamic scholarship from Al-Azhar University Scholars, Ijazat teaching license in 7 disciplines. Through these writings and lectures, Dr. Tariq has contributed to the debate on the issues of Muslim in the West and Islamic revival in the Muslim world. Honorable Professor Dr. Tariq Ramadan, just for your information that we name our weekly webinar as Topo Broto, participated by 1,000 Zoom and 15,000 virtual YouTube. All of our participants are Al-Zaytun Indonesia stakeholders in Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, New Zealand, United Kingdom, and all over the world. Finally, once again, thanks, and it's time for all of us to listen to the presentation. The floor is yours, Professor.
العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلن تجد له وليا مرشدا ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to all of you. Thank you so much for your kind invitation and introduction right now. To talk to all of you, I'm very honored to be with you, and I send my greetings and my salams to all of you, all the dignified people, the people who are dealing and organizing this web seminar as I'm talking to you from Europe. And as time is flying, I'm an emeritus professor now because of health reasons and because of time, just that you have to deal with it. So I'm very, very happy to be one of yours and to be invited and to talk about, as you said, a very timely topic while we are facing Islamophobia, not only in the West, as you said, but in the East, in Muslim majority countries. And we have to be quite clear about what is happening these days, where there is a great deal of confusion. So let me start with this, because if we are serious about the topic, what is important for all of us is first to be quite clear about what we are talking about and what we are not talking about. Because, you know, even in the French countries and also in some English-speaking countries, people are saying, no, Islamophobia doesn't even exist. This is coming from Muslims because they don't want to be criticized and to see their religion to be criticized. So when they are dealing with cartoons and we are drawing cartoons, they straight away speak about Islamophobia, and this is for them a notion used to avoid criticisms. And what we have to do first, and this is the starting point of any serious discussion about Islamophobia, is first to define the terms we are using and why we are using this and what do we exactly mean by them in this today world, in order to be quite clear about, because we know what we are combating, we also know what we want to achieve, and why, as it is said in the title of my topic today, is why the culture of tolerance and peace is the right tool to be able to face it, to go beyond it, and to promote something new and something else, and something which is, in fact, as you said, the very essence of the Islamic teachings. This is what we are talking about, and this is why we have to be serious. So what we have first to avoid as Muslims, whoever we are, and I'm talking here, and by the way, I'm just taking the opportunity to wish you a Ramadan Mubarak. May Allah accept from all of us our fasting and our prayers and our night prayers and our act of solidarity and love and mercy towards our families and our brothers and sisters in Islam and in humanity. Let us first start with this, because this is a holy month and we have to celebrate it as it is as well, from within, with our spiritual input, our intellectual understanding, and our corporal commitment towards Allah Azza wa Jal. So let me come to the topic and be clear about what we are talking about. And what I would like us, and this is where, when we are talking within a mosque or when we are talking in academic arenas, it's important not to get emotional about the issue. It's important to have a clear understanding and a clear intellectual approach in order for us, and for the people who are living with us, is really to understand what and in which way we want to deal with it. So having said that, what is important, and by the way, I would like to know exactly what is the time. What time do I have just to complete the whole talk, just for me to adapt? And I think that there is questions and answers, so that's fine. I got it right now. It's 40 minutes, so I will stick to this time and then follow. There are questions and question and answer time afterward. Now, having said that, let me be quite clear about this, because when I say, I think that we don't, and we should not be emotional. We should, because this is also what they are trying to do with us, is to attack Islam and Muslims, and we react in an emotional way. And the fact that sometimes our emotions are taking over, or we are overwhelmed by emotion. Sometimes we say things that are sometimes aggressive, sometimes attacking people, and responding in the wrong way to attacks. And this is something that we have in the Quran that we have to avoid. attacking the people for what they believe, or attacking people, or reacting through emotions. وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ عَلَىٰ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا. The fact that you are, even hatred towards people should not push you to avoid being just and right with the people around you. That's the starting point. لا تسبوا الذين يدعون من دون الله. So you should not insult. And then the reaction would be to insult you more. So this is also what we understand with the culture of peace and the culture of so if we are promoting peace and if we are promoting tolerance, the starting point is to control ourselves, to master our emotions, and to put things right. So what are we talking about when we speak about Islamophobia? For us to come to a very simple definition in order to be able to say, okay, we mean this, and this is what we don't want, and what are the means that we have to face it, combat it, go beyond it, and propose and spread away another way of dealing with mutual understanding. So when we are talking about Islamophobia, and once again, you can see that some people are saying, you know what, Islamophobia, by definition, it's being scared of Islam, because phobia, it's about fear. So people are scared, they fear Islam, and because they fear Islam, it's a legitimate notion to use, because yes, if we look at the world today, what we understand is that yes, Islam is, and the great majority of Muslims making the headlines are terrorists and they are violent. And as was said by Daniel Pipes in the United States of America, who is leading the movement of our day, say, you know what, Islam is not terrorists, but the great majority of the terrorists today are Muslims. So it means that we can, and it's legitimate to connect Islam with terrorism. So we have to say it quite clear. And to start with this, because a clear definition in our mind, it's also a clear way for us to deal with the issue. When we speak about Islamophobia, we are not talking here about the fear of Islam. We are talking about a constructed attitude that is not about criticizing Islam because, for example, you don't share some of the Islamic principles. That's fine, you don't, and we are used to this. You don't share, and you can be critical by the fact, you know, if you come to me and you tell me, you know what, I don't understand why you Muslims are praying 5 times a day and taking 1 month to fast, and you are criticizing. That's fine, go ahead. We don't care about that. We are used to this, and it started with the Prophet, meaning that we don't have a problem with you criticizing. Even, of course, what we are expecting from anyone is to do it in a respectful way, not to insult us and not to attack us, but we are ready for that. If you come and you say, you know what, Muslims are not behaving the right way. So we are the first to say it. If you come to any, you go to Indonesia, you come to any country around the world, the first to be critical towards Muslims are the Muslims themselves, because they are not happy with the state of affairs. We are not happy with this. So it's not about criticizing Muslim behavior or Islamic principles that people don't share. It's not about this. It's about criticizing, insulting, and promoting a discriminating way of dealing with Muslims by the only fact they are Muslims. It's about targeting people and targeting the people that you are Muslim, and then because you are Muslim, whatever you do, whatever is your status within your society, you are targeted because the very belonging to Islam, this is what we are talking about. So it's known, Judeophobia, it's not a new concept, is as old as we had dealing with, anti-Semitism is the other word. By the way, some are saying anti-Semitism is not the right word. We have to talk about Judeophobia because anti-Semitism means against Semitism, and Arabs are Semites. So I'm not going to deal with terminology here about the right terminology, but at least what we have to say as Muslims, is really that what we are dealing with here is when in Muslim majority countries or Muslim minority countries, Muslims are targeted, discriminated, and attacked by the only fact that they are Muslims. It's not about the behavior, it's not about Islamic principles, it's about who they are. So Islamophobia is a new type of racism. This is what we are talking about. This is where we are saying. And racism is known as you are targeted, for example, if you are a black man or a black woman in the United States of America, by the only fact that you are a black man. And it's not about your behavior. It's about the fact that you are targeted for who you are. So regardless of what is your behavior and the principles. And when we are talking about this by saying, okay, does it exist? Do the Muslims deal with discriminatory treatment when it comes to, for example, the media, what is said about Islam? Your introduction was quite clear and explicit about this, that very often, because we have some Muslims behaving wrongly or being violent, you associate all the Muslims to, terrorists. So you say, for example, Islamic terrorists. So what does it mean? Do you have a Christian terrorist? Do you have a Jewish terrorist? Do you have a Buddhist terrorist? You don't have this. What we have is some Muslims are going the wrong way. And who is today criticizing them the most? The Muslims themselves. We don't agree, and we say it. We condemn what should be condemned, and we don't agree with what some Muslims are doing around the world. So we find this as the fact that there is, by association, Muslims are perceived or reduced, are understood as a religious community through the prism of what some Muslims are doing and say, okay, this is Islam per se. And in European countries, and you heard about what happened in the United States of America with the Trump Muslim ban, is really to say all these Muslims, migrants coming from some countries are all dangerous. And for example, during the last, and it happened last week with the last French elections, 1 or 2 or 3 of the, running candidates were just saying, no, it's not, we're not talking about Islamism or political Islam. We are talking about Muslim and Islam. Islam per se is contrary to the French Republic. Just look at what it said. Islam per se cannot integrate the country. So what we are saying here is, first, this is when you are Muslim, you are targeted for who you are. The second point is what you just said, which is also essential in your introduction, and I thank you for that. Is this reduction of all the Muslims who were promoting in their society or respective societies a notion that the type of non-violent reformist movement, and you talked about the Ikhwan al-Muslimun, the Muslim Brotherhood. We have to be quite clear. You may disagree with them. You may not share their political agenda, but at least you have to be serious and factual about history. You can't just distort history by saying these are all violent people, which is not, they were known as non-violent and they were not. So once again, you disagree politically, just say it and show it and put your argument. But to reduce any political Islam or any understanding that Islam has a social dimension, political dimension, once again, I'm not saying you should agree, but at least you have to be factual. At least you have to be objective. There is something called history, and history is about facts. So deal with the facts and do not transform reality by putting all the people who are dealing with social issues and political issues as violent and reduce everything. You know what? At the end of the day, all these people are promoting the same ideology, which is the ideology of what we have now in Syria or what you had in Iraq. The Islamic State, or the new notion Islamic State, is about violence because this is the new movement considered or studied out of any political and historical context. So this is also something which is, this kind of Islamophobia within academia. Islamophobia within academia is when intellectuals and professors and teachings are confusing the terminology, confusing the movements, confusing the trends, and by saying at the end of the day, all this is political Islam, and political Islam is Islamism, Islamism is terrorism, and all these people. So get this, because this is very serious, is not in the arena of the public sphere where the people are talking. This is what should be the accredited understanding. This is academic understanding, which has a kind of authority. And sometimes, of course, it's following the political issues, because unfortunately, in many countries, wherever we are talking about freedom, it could be in the United States of America, in the UK, in Europe, in Muslim majority countries, within academia, we have some intellectuals who are not promoting objective knowledge, but politically oriented knowledge, and making that, a reference within the intellectual arena. We have also to understand that it is part of Islamophobia. Islamophobia is not about discrimination in the social sphere. It's about distortion in the academic arena. And we have also to make clear that this is not acceptable. That's serious, because this has an impact, because at the end of the day, if we are not serious within academia, we are going to pay the price within our respective societies, because we have to challenge this. And we have to help our students, our young Muslims, sisters and brothers, to be equipped, in fact, intellectually speaking, socially speaking, politically speaking, to combat Islamophobia. So this is what we are talking about. This is the picture, and you have many levels, and you have to get that. Now, what we should, and when we have to, a second word, a notion in our talk, which is also important to deal with. It's about combat. It's about resisting. It's about not accepting. And this is where you will see that when we understand what we are talking about here, you will see one of the notions that you choose for this talk in your title appearing quite clearly. In fact, what we have to do as Muslims, wherever we are, and this is part of the principles, one of the principles of Islam, one dimension of our way to deal with respect, and one of our principles dealing with communities, pluralism, and living together, and even acting together within our societies with Muslims and people of other faith. Once again, I'm just telling you something that you have to get, which is important in your way you talk about other people. You know what? We as Muslims, and this is between brackets in our talk, we as Muslims, we are not, and we don't like if people are always talking about us as, the non-Christian people, meaning the Muslims or the non-Jewish people. This way of dealing with other countries, other religions, other cultures is wrong. We should avoid in our talks to present or to introduce or to understand the others, other communities, other cultures, or other religions in a negative way. I'm avoiding. Sometimes it could happen because we are in a hurry in our talks, but I would avoid saying, the non-Muslims. I would say people of other faiths, Christians or Buddhists or Jews or whoever, to avoid, because we don't like it. So don't do to others what you don't like to be done with yourselves. You are not non-Christians. You are not non-Buddhists. You are Muslims, and people have other. So the point here is, why? Because discriminations and injustices and disrespects start with words, start with terminology, and this is why the Prophet, peace be upon him, was always with his brothers and sisters in Islam, trying to find the best words, the words the people like. And we have to do the same. We have idfa' billati hiya ahsan, respond with in the best way. The best way is, I call you by the way you call yourselves, not negatively from where I am. You are not a non-Muslim. You are a Christian. You are a Jew. And this is the starting point of a peaceful, environment you are creating. Now, when we are talking, I'll come back to the talk, when we are talking about combating, what is this principle I'm talking about? Wherever you are, as a Muslim woman or as a Muslim man, what you have to do when you see injustice, when you are facing discrimination, when you are facing disrespect, when you are facing racism, you have to resist or to combat this state of affairs in order to promote justice and to promote, balance. وَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةِ means wherever you are, you have to pray, but what you have to do is to promote justice wherever you do. And this is where I was saying that promoting i'dilu, so be just with all the people. This is what we have to do, and we have to establish justice with equity, as it is said in the beginning of Surah Ar-Rahman, as the understanding that we have to promote this. Having said that, now we have to resist injustice. To do what exactly? What do we want to promote? And this is where, in the Western intellectual arenas and media, but also sometimes among Muslims, they don't get the very understanding of what jihad is all about. And jihad, which is something that we need to get. In fact, when you see injustice, what you have to do is to resist. To resist, this movement of resistance, when you see something which is wrong, as racism against Muslims, is to resist something which is wrong to achieve what? To achieve justice and peace. While in the world today, when you speak about jihad, it's as if it's a negative concept, promoting violence. The true meaning of jihad is the way towards peace, is legitimate resistance to the wrong in order to promote peace. Jihad is a double movement. I resist the bad in order to promote peace. In fact, jihad is not the way towards war. It's the way towards peace by resisting the bad, by resisting injustice. This is what we are talking about in our world. وَأَقِيمُوا الْوَزْنَ بِالْقِسْطِ. So what we have to promote, أَقِيمُوا الْوَزْنَ, you have to establish the balance with equity. This is what we have in Surah Ar-Rahman. We have to promote this, and this is part of our teaching. Having said this, that our resistance to Islamophobia is the very essence, and should be the very essence of our understanding of what jihad is legitimate resistance to discriminatory treatment, verbal, social, legal, political, in order to promote justice and peace. So this is why and how we have to understand that, and why we need to get this understanding here. It's essential. So this is the big picture. And I would like our students, I would like our brothers and sisters in Islam and in humanity to get the right picture, because this is our duty to make clear that the way we want to deal with this is not to respond to the bad by the bad, or to resist through violent means. We need to understand the very essence of our religion, which is in fact based on a culture, and what you said here is tolerance and peace. And I would go further than that, because in fact, of course, there is a way of understanding tolerance by being it's the way we deal with one another, and we respect one another. But in fact, if we come to the Islamic understanding of the way we have to deal with people of other faith, with people not being among us within the Islamic community or being believers, they may be, atheists or agnostics or Jews or Christians or Buddhists or Hindus, whoever they are. There is a teaching here that we need to get as Muslims, because this is direct our way of dealing and promoting a culture which is based on the need to resist, but also the need to promote something positive in the world. First, we talk about tolerance, and in fact, the culture of tolerance was and it's understood as coming from Europe, and it's about British philosopher Locke and French philosophers and many other thinkers and philosophers, and even in our understanding in some of the contributions to the world made by some cultures and some religions. In Islam, in order to get the right understanding of what we have to do, we have to come to our principles. And which culture, meaning culture in the way a set of principles helping us to behave in the world, Islam is providing us with. Which culture? In fact, tolerance is not enough. Tolerance is not enough. Tolerance is about when you have power to suffer the presence of the other. It has to do with the power relationship. I tolerate you. By the way, would you in Indonesia, wherever you are, accept to be only tolerated? No, you want to be respected. And there is a great difference between tolerance and respect. Tolerance is about, I suffer your presence even though I may not know you. Respect is, I live with you, I deal with you, I respect you out of knowledge, out of understanding. Understanding what the knowledge of the other is helping you to understand. Get this. It helps you to understand that the other is as complex as you are. That in the Islamic world, or the Islamic world meaning in the Muslim societies, Muslim majority societies, or wherever you find Muslims, there are different understandings. There is a diversity. It's as complex as Buddhism and Christianity and whoever. So this acknowledgement that the other is as complex as you are, that you cannot just reduce this, is the starting point of respect. And get this why? Because what you find promoting Islamophobia is as a tool and as a propaganda agenda is about simplifying, reducing, not acknowledging that in Islam you have different trends and there is a diversity. No, is reducing, simplifying, targeting. Reducing, simplifying, and targeting. Our understanding is, and you can do this by just, okay, I suffer your presence. In Islam, in Surah Al-Hujurat, what you have, وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا. We made you tribes and nations in order for you to know each other. It's not about tolerance, it's about knowledge, because out of mutual knowledge, there is something which is great, which is something which is positive, which is a culture of respect. The difference between tolerance is I accept your presence, while ignoring you, respect is I value your presence because I know you, because I know who you are. So this notion should be something that we are promoting from within our principles as Muslims. And I want you to understand that by coming back to this, not only we are resisting something which is wrong and a new type of racism towards Muslims, is also being an added value in the discussion, the international discussion about what our world needs today. Because yes, it's true that sometimes Islamophobia is coming out of ignorance. So we are promoting knowledge. It's true that sometimes Muslims, Islamophobia, it's coming out of the bad behavior of some of our Muslim brothers and sisters. And this is also to become bad or to be approached through knowledge, by understanding. Look, this is what Islam is all about. And these people that you sometimes understand or reduce to Islam or to an Islamic legitimate behavior are not, or they are even criticized by their fellow brothers and sisters. So this understanding of what do we want when we are talking about this, we have to be very cautious not to just take some accepted notions without understanding what is the added value, our intellectual added value in the discussion, by saying we are promoting a culture of tolerance to go beyond tolerance towards mutual respect based on mutual knowledge, because this is what our religion is calling upon us to do. So we here have to deal with it in this way, because that's important to translate into understandable words and terminology. What is our agenda at the end of the day? What do you want? Because for some, the way you are talking about Islamophobia is just you want to reverse, you want to go through a kind of opposition movement to take over and to have the power. So the way you deal with discriminations is showing that at the end of the day, this is the very evidence and justification and confirmation that what Islam is. You resist Islamophobia because in fact what you want is power, and you don't really like to be a minority or to be a small community. So your mindset, it's all about confirming what we thought about you as Muslims, and by the way you combat Islamophobia, you confirm what the meaning is. We have to be very cautious with this as well. And three things are important. What I just said. What are the principles you are relying on in order to come with something which is not accepting racism, and what do you want to promote? We have to get a clear understanding of what Islamophobia is and a clear understanding of what our duties are as believers, as people belonging to a religion, being part of a Muslim community and trying to do the best in the world. Al-Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy an Munkar, promoting the good, resisting the bad. This is Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. You are the best community, and this is a condition. In as much as you are promoting the right, resisting the bad, and you are believers. This is where you become the right community. So we have to do this. Now, what we also have to do in our understanding is avoid victimhood. And victimhood is always to complain. We are the victims of the people who don't like Islam. Stop that. Stop that at the intellectual level. Stop that within your society. Stop that wherever. So this nurturing this victimhood mentality is not helping us. And it's coming from our lack of understanding of our own principles. There is nothing like I'm a victim in Islam. You are tested. So what is your answer to a test? Is it just to sit down and to say, they don't like me? Or is it to come back to your principles, understand that you have to resist, but with the right understanding and the right means? Meaning that here, the right understanding is what I said about Islamophobia, and the right means is I'm promoting a jihad against Islamophobia, meaning that I'm resisting the bad, but what I have to achieve out of it is a culture of peace, a state of mutual respect and peace. And there will be no peace, and if there is no justice. And the slogan is known everywhere: no justice, no peace. Because peace is about same rights, it's about equality, it's about being treated the same way. So this is something also that we have to avoid. Now we also have to get this, which is important. And this is the third point. Islamophobia is not only about Muslims. You know, for example, if you look at now what is happening in the United States of America, Black Lives Matter, it's as if some people are understanding, discrimination or racism against black people, it's a black issue. I'm sorry, it's not. It's not. It's our issue. as Asian, wherever you are, when you are talking about racism, is an issue. When you are talking, for example, about women and discriminations against women, is it just a women issue? It's our issue. We should all be involved. So we have to get this as well, that combating or resisting and promoting something beyond Islamophobia is not only Muslims trying to do this. And you spoke about the fact that resolution at the United Nations level are only resolution, and that's true, they are only resolution. But we need to understand as well that we have so many allies, so many partnerships possible, and even we have to think about the people around the world who are understanding this. If you, for example, look at Amnesty International, in some of their statements and their reports, so many organizations who are not Muslim organizations, people of other faiths, Christians, and even Jews, and even atheists, are saying we are in great danger. We are in great danger because this is a new type of racism and we don't talk about it. We are all going to be impacted, and that's the reality of it. Islamophobia is not impacting only Muslims. By targeting Muslims, it's impacting the peaceful living together, behaving and acting together within all the societies. Because if you look at what is happening in India, or for example in China, or even in Europe, you can see that by targeting people, creating an atmosphere of fear and insecurity, at the end, it comes back to all the citizens. You need to get your allies. You need to get the people who are not sharing your Muslim and Islamic references, but they share with you the call for justice. They love justice and they are ready to fight with you. So don't make it Muslims victimizing themselves and trying to do it only themselves against the big picture. It's not. We have so many brothers and sisters in humanity. Al-Ukhuwa, Al-Insaniya, this is essential. So we have to promote this. So if we are talking about the culture of peace and the culture of tolerance and respect, we should get it from the very beginning. A culture of peace and tolerance means we are not the only one promoting justice. So we need to find who with us is going to do this. And by saying this at the same time, and this is part of the third point that I'm making here, highlighting in my talk, is also to say, look, that's fine. You are promoting racism. You are promoting resistance to racism, and you don't accept this against Muslims. What is your take on other racisms? So that's also something which is important. We should not only be involved when it comes to us. So, I'm a Muslim, I'm targeting, this is Islamophobia, so I'm going to resist. What about racism against black people? What about racism against Asian people? What about racism against Jewish people? And we have to put it quite clearly. Anti-Semitism is anti-Islamic, period. So we also have to understand this. In our understanding here is really to get a sense of what we have as Muslims in our understanding here. So by saying this, by also understanding that we also have to be right in our way of dealing with Islamophobia, is that we should be part of all the struggles resisting any type of racism. To come to a conclusion here by saying that this is where we have to be involved, what we have to promote, yes, is a culture of respect based on our principles. This is where we know that Allah, that our revelation is promoting a way of dealing with others. So it means that what we have to do in our societies is understanding that respect comes from knowledge. So we have to spread a better understanding of Islam. It's the way to spread mutual respect. Knowledge, it's important. And so it starts with, knowledge is spread through what happened in our history, is our behavior. Good example. Al-Uswa al-Hasana, the Prophet, peace be upon him, was an example. We have to be, we have to be books. You know, Aisha was saying about the Prophet ﷺ, كَانَ خُلُقُهُ الْقُرْآنِ. So his behavior was based on the Islamic principles. We need to get people to know ourselves out of our knowledge, out of our understanding, and our intellectual contribution. So it's about spreading knowledge in order to spread a culture of mutual respect. Now, with this, we should be clear about what we want. We want mutual respect by having the same rights, we don't want to get, you know, privileges. No, we just want the same rights and the same way of being treated by law within our society. So this call for equality and justice, it's also the way for us to say there will be peace in our societies when we get this. So we are promoting this out of knowledge, out of respect, and we have to do this with ادفع بالتي هي أحسن. ادعو إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة. It's based on wisdom. It's based on mastering our emotions. It's based on our spreading knowledge around us about abiding by the law of the land. This is where we as Muslims are responding the right way and dealing with people of other faiths and religions in order to resist this. This is where we are going to be also understood. And let me put a last point here, which is wherever you are in Muslim majority countries, is to understand that in which way are you going to help the people to change their mind about you, or to change their mind about Islam and Muslims, where in your society, by promoting this culture of respect, tolerance, respect, and peace, you become an added value. You become an added value. So it's not by only criticizing the people who are rejecting Islam, it's showing how Islam is making you a better human being. An added value is you are an agent of good in the society, an agent of and promoting. And it means an agent of good is also to be resisting all the injustices. Don't make it you very small. No, all the injustices, you have to be involved in this, and this is to be an added value. And let me finish with what I called a few years ago the Zinedine Zidane syndrome. Even in Indonesia, I'm sure you like soccer, isn't it?
Yeah.
You like soccer and you know about soccer, and you know about Zidane. So you know what? Zidane, he is coming from Algeria, and he was perceived as an Arab and a Muslim at the same time. When did this stop looking at him as a foreigner? The very moment he wrote and he was an added value in the French team, they forgot about his religion and even the fact that he was coming from Algeria. Because when you are added to the your very society, you are one of us. And when you are one of us, is what I call the Zinedine Zidane syndrome. Remember this: if you are positive, contributing, the people will see you in another way. And it's the best way to change this propaganda and to resist this propaganda, making Islam a danger, while we Muslims should show that we are not a danger, we are a gift. Wallahu a'lam wa a'la wa ahkam. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Professor. It is a wonderful presentation from you. And I think all audience here are interested to ask some questions, because it is very clear definition until conclusion that you had already presented. Okay, I open the time for question and answer. Please, the audience from this MASJID RAHMATAN LIL ALAMIN. Okay, yeah, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Merdeka. Thank you, Mr. Tariq Ramadan. My name is Eji Anugrah Ramadan. Ramadan Mubarak. Lana walakum.
Amin.
I believe in this topic that aside you are has deep thought, and I think you are also very experienced on this topic. My question is about what we are reading and seeing in the newspaper in the case of in Sweden right now or a couple of days ago. That's a bit surprising. I mean, I think in the kind of developed country like Sweden, and there is that kind of act by far right party. I think they showing the hatred to Muslim, if I'm not wrong. So how you see that? I mean, in the term of the far right religion, the party in the Europe, especially in North Europe, is getting higher, at least in act or in number. So how we, our brother Muslim in the Europe responded under the principle of peace and tolerance, for example, because we see, I think there is something not good in there. I mean, the injustice in there, and so it also, there was reaction from our Muslim brother. Maybe I don't know exactly in there. There is a violent act as response to it. That's my first question, and my second question is, your statement is shown that very active in terms of promoting the peace and tolerance. Even I heard that you said combating or something like that. Whether is it the best way, at least in your thought, or what you reflect in the Europe, for example, because we want to learn about it, because maybe it will be different way here in Indonesia. That's my two questions. Thank you very much.
MashaAllah, thank you so much. These are great questions, and I think it's really, really deep questions and important questions that you are putting here. When it comes to what is happening today in Europe, and you were talking about Sweden and new trends that you have, just you need to get that the far right parties and the far right movements, this is a transnational Western reality. It's not only in Sweden. We are running the French election, the second one that is running, its second place today is Marine Le Pen. But Marine Le Pen was not the only one. You can see that even, with the current president in France, they closed more than 400 organizations and mosques in the name of separatism. And you know that separatism is coming from the Chinese propaganda about the Uyghur by saying they are separatists. So they are using exactly the same terms. So in Europe, this is what you have in so many countries. You have a far-right movement with many dimensions, spreading over Europe. But not only. I, for example, for years thought that this was not going to reach the United States of America. And you know how it happened with Trump and all his propaganda about Muslims and about the fact that Islam per se is dangerous. So we know this. We know it's happening. So there is something which is dangerous here, and that we have to be very clear in our way of understanding our current societies. When you don't have a political agenda to propose, just find the right enemy. Find the right enemy. So you gather the people against Islam. This is the way you are gaining, for the sake of your security, because you are scared. We are going to secure your future, and by targeting Muslims perceived still after 5 generations as foreigners. We are still connecting Islam to migration and saying, okay, look, we have been here for the 4 generations, and what are you talking about? And we understand that this is a political game, and we have to understand that. When I'm saying, idfa billati hiya ahsan, and it comes also to your second question, so you have to respond in the best way and with the best means, is not to, in our societies, to do exactly what some want us to do, is to isolate yourself, to react only and not to be active. So you are only on the defensive. So you come with a rhetoric of the people who are the victims, and we are not liked, and we want to be respected. So that's the wrong way. Idfa billati hiya ahsan. Know your rights, understand your struggle, and bring something to the society. Because at the end of the day, even if the people don't understand that, far-right parties are not only bad for Muslims, they are bad for all the citizens. This is a common struggle, so let us come together. So yesterday, there were the Spanish people, the Italians, when they were migrants. Today is the Muslims. The only thing which is new here is that this is a transnational reality. It's coming all over. You were talking about Sweden and this. So I would say here that our understanding should be deep on this, to understand, okay, what is my reaction to this? How do I have to struggle? We have to be clear, not to be naive. It's a struggle, and it means that it takes effort, first understanding, efforts, and sacrifices, because you are paying the price. I myself, I being, a controversial figure that is very, he's the grandson of Hassan al-Banna, this is dangerous. Every time, wherever you go, you are targeted, not because of what you say. And if you say something good, say, oh, double talk. He's thinking something else, because this is exactly the very teaching of Islam. Is say something good to the people who are not sharing your religion, and you have something else in mind. This double talk that you have, taqiyya, as they are saying, this was spread by all the enemies of even the Muslim present. So when you are and it comes to your second question, what are the best means? And if we are, because the title was yours, by the understanding is mine, is combating, it's not about being violent at all, is with and through the right understanding of jihad. We resist the bad and we promote the common good. That's what I'm saying. And by doing this, the common good is about, okay, if there is discrimination, we have to struggle in the legal field for our rights. And our rights mean, if I'm discriminated and there is a legal system, I have to resist through the legal system by saying, you don't talk to me about me like this. This is racism, and you have to pay the price. So we have to be promoting this. So this is the legal part. But there is something else, which is the positive presence. And the positive presence, wherever you are, at the local level, at the regional level, at the national level, show that your presence is an added value within the society. By your intellectual contribution, your cultural contribution, your solidarity work. This is the right answer. Is not to promote the victim mentality, is to promote the active, proactive presence. This is what Islam is all about. And to show that at the end of the day, look, they are telling you that Islam is the danger. We are showing you that Islam is the gift. That's, I think, it's what I was trying to say. Wallahu a'lam.
So inspiring. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And then now from the participant from Zoom meeting, from United Kingdom, Ahmad Prawiro Tama. Please, the operator. Yeah, thank you. Please, time for your question.
Your mic.
Still unmute, sir.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. I unmute already there. Yeah. Right, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for the time. And Mr. Ramadan, my name is Ahmad. I'm from Indonesia, but currently I live in the United Kingdom. And it is I'm so really grateful to be able to be here to join this conference and this seminar. And it is an honor for me to be able to interact with you as well. And I just noted from your presentation that, and I have learned something new here today, that you mentioned that Islamophobia is not a discrimination about social aspect, but rather it is a constructed attitude and a tool of propaganda in promoting discrimination toward Muslim. It is about who you are. And Islamophobia is, you said, as you call it, is a new type of racism. So I just have one simple question here, just probably this is a basic question. So why is it that Muslim and Islam or Islam is being targeted and subjected to this new type of racism, as you call it? Thank you very much.
MashaAllah, thank you so much for your questions. As an immediate reaction, I would say there are three reasons. Three reasons are today making Islam a new target or being attacked because of Islam. The first one, in fact, it's not about us and it's not coming from us. That in the old world, the way the West was defining itself was always through a negative procedure or a process which is negative, which is by saying we are the West by opposition to an enemy. And for years and decades, the enemy was Russia, communism, and the other political ideological side of the equation. But when this stopped, how are you going to define yourself? You need to get in a world where they are talking today about the end of ideology, which is an ideology per se, by the way. If someone is telling you, oh, there is no longer ideology, he is ideologically driven. But there is something which was needed, is a new enemy in the way you are defining the West. It's as if today, when you look at what is said, is the West is the Judeo-Christian civilization versus Islam, forgetting that for centuries, Islam is part of what all the European culture is about, or the Western culture. But this is another discussion. The discussion is creating another enemy in order to gather and to... So we need to get this, because what I said in my presentation is it's a transnational movement wherever. So this was nurtured there, ending with even the wrong understanding in Muslim majority countries that the practicing Muslims or the Muslims who are even sometimes targeted and victims of Islamophobia with it. Because you have, unfortunately, and this is true, you have Muslim Islamophobes. You have Muslims Islamophobes. They are so much brainwashed by there's propaganda at the international level that they end up targeting their own brothers and sisters in religion because they don't know themselves. So they are targeting the people who are practicing, for example. So this is the first reason. And this is very dangerous, but this is the second is that in our societies, what we find today is that they are acts of violence, and the great majority. In fact, it's not true in terms of numbers and figures, but it's true in terms of media coverage. Get me right. If you look at, for example, the act of violence in the United States or even in Europe, the great majority are not made promoted or are done by Muslims, by people of other faiths or far right even movements. But the media coverage is keeping it as the great majority of violence, and it's, the 2001 was an example, and after 2001 up to now, you look at violence. So if violence is connected to Islam, Islam is perceived and described as not a religion for peace, but a violent religion. And this violence is spreading. What is helping the first reason, or nurturing the first reason, wherever Muslims are, you will find that there is violence. So this religion of violence and Islam, and look at the world, look at the Middle East, violence, look at in Eastern countries, violence, look at Afghanistan, violence, look at African countries or North African countries, violence. Wherever Muslims are, there is violence. And not only this, now they have settled in Europe and we have violence. They have settled in the United States of America, there is violence. So this nurturing, and this is once again, it's a political agenda, is to set or to present or to describe, reduce Islam to violence. So this sense of insecurity is nurturing this new type of racism. And the third reason here also is, and get me right because this is serious, is also coming from Muslim majority country states who are, in fact, in their relationship with Western countries, targeting the people who are resisting dictatorships, and the state of affairs in this country are described by Muslim majority countries or power or dictators there as the enemy. So this is helping the West and nurturing. For example, you had for years in Egypt Mubarak saying all the people who are against me are terrorists and they are violent and they are radicals. So this was used in the West by saying, you know, if even the Muslim majority countries are saying this about them, so it means that they are. So you know, it's a political game here, and you need to get this quite right. So there are many other reasons, but I just wanted to highlight three major reasons. And it means when you are putting these questions here, that we as Muslims, we have to understand the reasons, because it's by and through your understanding of the reasons that you can today respond or promote the right answers. And very often the Muslims don't get this, that there is a transnational movement, that we need to understand it's a political propaganda, and we need to be socially, culturally, politically involved to resist this by also trying to explain. For example, you know, as I told you, I was perceived for many and still now, and I was even attacked and trying to bring me down because, you know, you are a voice saying, no, I'm sorry. This is not going to work. In the intellectual arena, we need to be much more sophisticated than that, and to show that our presence is not about insecurity. Our presence is about peaceful future with a diversity of people, cultures, and religions within our Western societies and even in the East. So we need to get the right picture. Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. It's clear and detailed answers. And then now from Malaysia. Yeah, please, Mr. Mafilindo.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Merdeka.
Waalaikumsalam.
Everyone, and Ramadan Al-Karim to you, Professor Ramadan.
You too.
Yeah, I find your presentation very fascinating, especially you really to all of us to how to respond the best way towards Islamophobia, and how we will try to resist from having this victim mentality and let our emotion to be bullied by those that have something against Islam. And as I also agree about Itfaq bil Yayasan, the best way to respond and how we want to promote jihad, the right meaning of jihad as a way to promote peace, the seriousness in promoting peace. And I'd just like to highlight this thing in the present world. We can see the percentage of, let's say, terrorism and radicalism committed by Muslims against the percentage of Muslims in the whole world that are very tolerant, excel in various fields. So it's very overwhelming different about the percentage of what being committed negatively and what has been achieved positively. So I would like to ask Professor. How can we promote Fazatul Khairat, meaning how we compete to contribute towards the common goodness, common well-being, Rahmatan Lil Alamin. How can we contribute? How can we increase? How can we highlight the excellence that's Muslims, individuals, education institutions, organizations, even Muslim nations, do we highlight their contribution so that the non-Muslims, even Muslims, and as you know that the non-Muslims, they will not say whatever they believe unless they are clear proof. So how can we promote this movement to highlight the contributions of Muslims as a whole, so that that's the best way to respond, as you say. Thank you, Professor. Thank you.
Thank you so much, brother, and my greetings and salams to you, and Ramadan Mubarak to you and all the families and the people in Malaysia as well. Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Your question is important as well, because at the end of the day, the starting point of our understanding of the whole issue is also to start by asking ourselves. So yeah, that's fine. We got the picture now. What do we have to do? In which way we have to respond to this phenomenon in our society? And this is something that it's coming out of our Islamic teachings. First, you set the state of affairs. You understand, the Prophet, peace be upon him, when he arrived in Medina, he got the state of affairs, and he started straight away by al-ikha, brotherhood between the people, and then the economic rules and the financial rules in the market in Medina. And he started transforming by understanding the state of affairs. Unfortunately, very often we don't do this. We go with our open heart and we want to, through emotion and not always deep understanding, we try to reform the scene by not through our emotional take and not understanding it in our rational or wise way of dealing with it. When it comes to us today, and we have to understand something, and you said it, and I think it's important. In our way to educate ourselves, we should now stop with nurturing the people, the victim mentality with our brothers and sisters. The victim mentality is based, the people don't like you. The people are rejecting you. Now we have to understand that the starting point of everything is self-respect and confidence. Self-respect. How do you get this? I'm a Muslim. I'm a Muslim. I'm a Muslim and I'm proud of being Muslim. How do you educate or transmit this sense of pride? How? How do you do this? First, by coming back to our principles. And this is something which is a long process. And I can tell you that in many, many, many countries around the world, it's happening. Yes, it's not yet visible, but it's going, inshallah. But we have to add and add and add much more energy in educating our brothers and sisters and our sisters, wherever they are saying, or they are telling, or they are reducing Muslim women to, you are discriminated, you are obliged to wear the headscarf and so on and so forth. You have to educate, and we have to educate our sisters and our brothers in getting this self-respect. The dignified education means know your principles, know your way, and know them with a critical mind. Don't be a Muslim repeating principles and repeating things. You need to get a critical mind. You need to teach Islam out of understanding, not imitation. Not do this because this is, if you only get the sense of being a Muslim through rules, this is halal and this is haram, without understanding, at the end of the day, you are going to be emotional and resisting. As some people, when you are talking to them about halal meat, they are going to be very aggressive about halal meat is, and then you say, do you pray, by the way? And say, I don't pray. So you are struggling for halal meat and you don't even pray. You don't get a sense of who you are. It's only reactive, emotional, because with your prayer, you understand that you are nurturing a peaceful way of dealing with a negative environment. So I need that education is essential in the way, respect yourself. Be a Muslim. Be proud of being a Muslim. This is something which it starts from within. Inna Allah la yughayyiru ma biqawmin hatta yughayyiru ma bi anfusihim. This self-respect is going to, I have three T that you have to rely on. The first is the understanding of Tawheed. Rely on God. Atawakkalu ala Allah. It means it's Allah is a Tawheed. La ilaha illa hu. The second that you have to nurture to get the self-confidence is taqwa. Reverential consciousness. Reverential consciousness has nothing to do with fear. Very often we translate taqwa as being scared or fear of God. No, it's reverential consciousness that you, out of this reverential, you love Him, you rely on Him, and you are having Him or being with Him wherever you are, which is the meaning of it, ihsan. And then the third T is tawakkul ala Allah, is rely on Him. Trust God. Trust God. He wants the best for you. So get this confidence. This is one, because what I see with many brothers and sisters combating Islamophobia is very, very often not getting this sense of self-respect. They are much more against the others than they are for who they are. And that's the wrong picture. Be consistent with who you are before getting against the others. This is one. The second is, as you said, I think this education is and should be with this self-confidence. Be proud of who you are, and wherever you are, in the West, in Muslim majority countries, and then you have to be an added value. So be an agent of peace. Why? Because many people understood Islam not out of books, but out of the good behavior of Muslims, merchants, workers, people who are living. So you have to be a living example of what Islam, and this is going to change. And once again, we are going through very difficult times, and it's going to take time to change mentality. But you have to, you need to know that with time and with your presence, the people are going to get a better understanding of Islam, because they are, dealing with Muslims and dealing with you on a daily basis. And this is where, instead of, because you are practicing Muslims, you end up judging all the people who are not praying in a bad way. This is not going to help. But out of your way of praying or way of fasting, you should be this good example within the society. And to tell you the truth, you know why today they are putting so much pressure on, discriminating the Muslims and making it a danger? Because contrary to what we think, the Muslim presence in the West is succeeding. It's not because we are failing, it's succeeding. Yes, we have many problems, but we are succeeding by being good citizens, by showing that out of our presence we can be. So the people are going, oh, this is the great replacement, that these Muslims are going to take over because there are so many out of the figures now, the Muslims. So we need to get this with not with arrogance, but with something which is intellectual humility. I would like the people to get this notion of get intellectual humility, that you understand the game, you understand the picture, but at the end of the day, out of your humility, out of your presence, show the best. Show the best. And the call for Islam is not making da'wah, try to convert the people, is to be the witness. لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ. In order for you to be a witness to the message before people. This is who you have to be. So this is the understanding. Be a witness. When I meet a Christian, I'm not asking him or her to teach me the principles of Christianity and just to accept or not. I want him or her to be a witness for his or her faith. Just show me what it means to be a good Christian. This is what I have to do, because this is what you find in the Quran. لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ. So I would like that this is the best way. And no victim mentality, but a mentality of participation and duty and obligation and contribution. When in the West, and even, it's exactly the same. I have seen the same discussion even in Malaysia, by the way. So even in Malaysia, you have the same, people targeting Muslims, and when they are practicing. At the end of the day, we also have to nurture this sense of contribution and positive contribution to our society, and this will help. So the legal front, the political front, the social front, even the financial front, are not going to be enough if in the daily front we are not witnesses to our message to people. If we are not, that's not going to work. So we need to be involved on a daily basis and to show how things are and to be proud. Just be yourself and say, yes, I'm a Muslim. Because, I have chronicles during Ramadan every day. If you go on all my websites and all my platforms, I have all courage. Every day I'm talking about one courage. And yesterday, by the way, there was a chronicle about the courage to be oneself. Just the courage to be yourself. Be yourself with confidence. And it takes courage. Wallahu a'lam.
Appreciate very much. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Allah barik.
Yeah, thank you very much. Actually, there are so many participants who want to add a question because it is very interesting. But brothers and sisters, it is valuable general lecture about the role of peace and tolerant culture to combat Islamophobia, and I can enlighten that we have to be clear understanding about Islamophobia itself, and then we should not be too emotional to face this. We have to think positively, respect each other, not directly respond bad to bad, but it comes to ourselves. Idfa billati hiya ahsan. Okay. Thank you very much for Professor Tariq Ramadan for presenting the material. We hope one day you can visit us here in Ma'had Al-Zaytun, the Center of Education, Peace and Tolerant Culture Development. Best regard from all Al-Zaytun communities. And one more, brothers and sisters, please give applause for our speaker, Professor Dr. Tariq Ramadan. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, hopefully we can get some valuable information about the topic, and then we can apply in our life as Rahmatan Lil Alamin. Thank you for your attention, and please forgive me if I had mistaken. Finally, I have to say, hadza wallahu yar'ana wa yafaduna walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Merdeka. I return to MC. Thank you.
Selanjutnya, tausiah Syaykh Al-Zaytun. Kepada yang amat berhormat Syaykh Al-Zaytun, disilakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Amma ba'du. Saudara-saudara, alhamdulillah kita telah mengikuti muhadharah yang telah disampaikan oleh Profesor Tariq Ramadan. Beliau adalah cucu daripada Al-Allamah Hasan Al-Banna, tokoh daripada Ikhwanul Muslimin yang sangat mempengaruhi perjalanan fikir umat Islam di dunia. Cara yang ditempuh oleh kedua tokoh ini, baik kakeknya maupun cucu, sama-sama menginginkan bahwa Islam ini zahir dalam bentuk yang sebaik-baiknya. Saudara-saudara, Islamofobia itu bukan belakangan ini saja ada. Sejak tampil Kanjeng Nabi, itu Islamofobia sudah ada. Jadi jangan sampai kita ini terpengaruh dengan bahasa Islamofobia seakan-akan baru hari ini. Jauh. Begitu tampil dari 620-an atau 622, tahun 622 setelah Masehi, Nabi menyampaikan bahwa beliau menjadi Nabi dan utusan Allah. Semua orang mengatakan innaka lamajnun. Jadi apa yang dibawa oleh risalah Muhammad ini yang intinya adalah ajaran ilahi yang menyatukan daripada perjalanan Ibrahim, Musa, Daud, Sulaiman, Isa alaihissalam sampai kepada junjungan Nabi besar Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Begitu ditampilkan menjadi sesuatu yang aneh, kemudian membencinya. Ini sebuah gerakan yang abadi. Islamofobia itu gerakan yang abadi, tidak akan ada bentiknya. Jadi jangan cemas, la takhaf wa la tahzan, karena itu tidak akan berhenti. Maka dalam perjalanannya kita ini punya bekal. Bekal tentunya al-huda wa dinul haqqi. Itulah jihad. Jihadun nafas, jihad al-akbar. Yakni kullu fardin minal muslim li ayyujahida nafsahu bita'allumil huda wa dinil haqqi. Tiap individu muslim harus berusaha tampil untuk mendapatkan, mendalami huda. Huda itu adalah hadiyatullah. Hadiyatullah itu adalah ajarannya. Ini harus dipelajari sedalam-dalamnya. Dan juga dinul haqqi, ini dipelajari sebenar-benarnya. Inilah yang menjadi tameng daripada gerakan Islamofobia atau unsur Islamofobia itu. Dan itu juga yang diceritakan di dalam surah Fussilat yang selalu kita baca, la tastawi al-hasanah walas sayyi'ah. Al-hasanah yakni huda wa dinul haqqi. Tab'an hudallah wa dinullah al-haq. As-sayyi'ah ya Islamofobia. Kilahuma la yastawiyan. Dua-duanya tidak sama. La tastawi al-hasanah walas sayyi'ah. Tatkala kita menghadapi Islamofobia yang kita kelompokkan dalam as-sayyi'ah itu ada metodenya, ada tariqahnya. Tariqahnya yang terbaik. Kalau Islamofobia dihadapi dengan kejengkelan, maka tidak ketemu akhir, kita tidak ketemu ujung. Yang bisa menghadapi ini adalah orang yang memiliki as-sabar. Sabar itu dilukiskan as-sabru kas-sabiri. Murun fi madzaqatihi. Lakin awaqibuhu ahla minal asali. Sabar itu laksana, kalau dalam bahasa Jawanya Bratawali. Brotowali. Brotowali itu sebuah kayu yang rasanya sulit dibayangkan pahitnya. Lakin awaqibuhu ahla minal asali. Tapi endingnya lebih manis dari segala yang manis. Nah, itulah cara yang terbaik. Terkadang dengan cara yang terbaik itu para kelompok yang sayyi'ah ini berubah menjadi baik. Karena manusia itu temporer. Terkadang baiknya kalau tidak dijaga juga temporer baik. Jeleknya pun, sayyi'ahnya pun, kalau tidak diberikan satu cara menghadapinya, tidak pernah berhenti. Tapi kalau menemukan jalan yang baik, menemukan jalan yang terbaik, dia akan berubah. Maka orang itu punya keyakinan, iman yang qad yazid wa qad yangkus. Terkadang bertambah baik, terkadang susut. Nah, ini cara menghadapinya. Jadi la tastawi al-hasanah wala sayyi'ah itu abadi ada. Maka menghadapinya idfa' billati hiya ahsan fa idzal ladzi bainaka wa bainahu adawatun ka'annahu waliyyun hamim, menjadi kawan yang baik. Saudara-saudara, kapan itu selesai? Tidak ada selesainya. Zuhurul Islam itu dari fajar Islam. Fajar Islam itu ya mulai ada hari Islam. Sampai kapanpun itu akan ada. Jadi jangan pusing kita ini. Kita harus punya jiwa besar. Menghadapi semua itu harus punya jiwa besar. Jiwa besar itu tumbuh dari kepemilikan sikap yang sabar tadi. Sikap sabar itu artinya menata diri yang tidak pernah henti. Itu ta'allumul huda wa dinil haq. Itu jihadnya itu. Jihad al-kubra. Itu mendalami petunjuk ilahi dan mendalami dinul haqqi. Dan menyampaikan, ini loh yang baik, ini loh yang terbaik, terus disampaikan. Itu namanya ad-da'watu wat tabligh. Kalau ini yang kita lakukan, inilah bentuk daripada toleransi. Kita tidak usah kebakaran jenggot dengan adanya statement-statement gerakan Islamofobia itu. Tidak usah. Itu suatu hal yang pasti ada. Dan sampai kapanpun ada. Tidak bisa dibendung dengan seperti membalik tangan. Pembendungnya adalah unsur-unsur muslim yang punya jiwa rahmatan lil alamin. Assalamualaikum, menebarkan salam. Assalamualaikum, menebarkan rahmat warahmatullah wabarakatuh. Itu arti daripada toleransi. Itu arti daripada cara menghadapi Islamofobia yang dimaknakan sayyi'ah tadi. Jadi makna salam itu sungguh sangat besar. Maka kita mengajak tatkala mengucapkan salam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, diajak merdeka. Sehingga roh kita itu merdeka. Tatkala kita memberikan damai, roh kita yang merdeka ini yang memberikan damai itu. Bukan karena didorong oleh siapapun dan apapun. Kalau kita ingin supaya mendapatkan sesuatu, tidak ketemu itu. Tapi kalau kita punya jiwa besar, memberikan salam perdamaian itu yang keluar dari ruh yang bebas ini, maka itu sampai kepada yang diberikan salam. Jadi salam itu bisa masuk ke dalam jiwa orang. Karena jiwa orang kita ajak merdeka seperti kita merdeka menyampaikannya. Maka tatkala kita menyampaikan Assalamualaikum, pikiran kita merdeka. Tidak dihambat oleh gerakan-gerakan apapun, merdeka. Dicela orang, tidak masalah karena punya pikir yang merdeka. Kemudian ilmu, dari sinilah ilmu itu harus ditambah. Karena ilmu itu tidak ada batas. Tatkala kita berhenti, maka kita ini menjadi jahil kepada urusan yang akan datang. Jadi ilmu, mengapa ilmu itu tidak terbatas? Karena memang perkembangan dunia ini dengan ilmu yang dimiliki oleh manusia itu sampai kapanpun tak pernah berhenti. Tatkala kita berhenti untuk merdeka menuntut ilmu, maka jahil lagi kita. Kita menjadi bodoh lagi. Nah, maka diajak merdeka itu merdeka ilmu. Dan inilah menghadapi daripada Islamophobia itu. Jadi kalau ada orang mengatakan ini, lah ya memang begitu pengetahuannya, atau memang begitu maksudnya dia, atau memang begitu tujuan dia, atau memang begitu maunya dia. Lah mau kita bagaimana? Ayo kita sampaikan. Ini loh apa yang dikendaki oleh ajaran al-Islam. Sehingga ada peribahasa pamio al-Islam ya'lu wala yu'la alai. Walaupun itu pamio. Seperti al-maniyatu fauqal jami, itu juga pamio. Nah, saudara-saudara, sikap-sikap yang begini yang harus ditanamkan. Ditanamkan itu akan tumbuh dan juga terkadang akan tidak tumbuh. Nah, bagaimana supaya kita tanamkan ini dan terus tumbuh? Itulah ada sile asa, sile aso, sile asih. Inilah kita adakan saling bertemu untuk bertukar pandang, bertukar pendapat, dan bertukar segala macam yang membawa kebaikan. Maka dinamakan topo broto. Topo itu suatu gerakan yang ingin mendapatkan sesuatu yang bagus, baik, terbaik. Broto, gerakannya suci. Jadi mencari sesuatu yang terbaik dengan gerakan yang suci. Nah, itu makna daripada topo broto yang terkadang dimaknai dengan makna sempit. Ya, yang sempit boleh, tapi harus ada yang luas juga. Seperti puasa topo broto gitu kan. Ya itu hikmahnya banyak. Tatkala Ramadan kita puasa, ya nggak pakai ribut-ribut, nggak pakai ngitung-ngitung lagi ya. Diumumkan ya jalan gitu. Nggak pakai mengejar-ngejar cari makanan untuk persediaan. Memang sesuap dua suap sudah cukup. Nah, itu makna daripada gerakan untuk mencapai sesuatu yang terbaik dengan cara yang suci. Namanya topo broto. Ini mengasah. Maka saudara-saudara, ini untuk mencapai apa itu namanya? Insan kamil. Kalau orang Yunani dulu mengatakan katos, kagalos. Itu insan kamil. Nah, mengapa insan? Insan kamil itu ya muslim itu. Tapi kita tidak mengatakan muslim, tapi insan kamil. Kalos kagatos. Insan kamil itu ada 3 cirinya itu. Punya bobot. Punya bobot. Bobot itu apa? Yaitu tadi punya. ta'allumul huda wa dinul haqqinya benar, bobot. Jadi bobot ini diperlukan. Bobot keilmuan, bobot ekonomi, bobot budaya, bobot politik, semuanya bobot. Menuju manusia sempurna, insan kamil, kalos kagatos. Terus ada lagi. Bobot, bibit dulu, bibit. Bibit dulu, bibit, bobot, bebet. Nah, tadi sudah yang keduanya sudah. Bibit. Bibit itu artinya mempersiapkan orang per orang. Orang per orang ini adalah kader. Kader yang dimiliki kita ini menjadi kader yang punya bobot, punya ilmu, punya kegiatan budaya, ya, macam-macam yang cukup berbobot, bobot. Yang terakhirnya bebet. Bebet itu ada nilainya. Jadi kalau orang yang sudah diciptakan, dididik dengan baik di awal, yakni bibitnya tadi, kemudian berbobot, dia punya bebet. Bebet itu artinya ya punya kekayaan, ya punya kesehatan yang paripurna, ya punya, kalau sudah sehat biasanya parasnya juga cemerlang gitu, itu bebet. Jadi ini kalos kagatos itu begitu. Masuklah kepada wa ma yulaqaha illal ladzina sabaru wa ma yulaqaha illa dzu hadzin azim. Nah, saudara-saudara, itu kalau ingin menghadapi Islamofobia, jadilah orang yang menjadi kalos kagatos, insan kamil. Itulah nanti yang menjadi rawe-rawe rantas, malang-malang putung, setan oyatuyan, demit orang dulit. Nah, gitu itu. Jadi mau diomongin apakah Islam nggak akan hilang. Islam itu nggak akan hilang. Mau dibenci bagaimanapun nggak akan hilang. Dan ini Islamofobia itu walaupun PBB membuat satu ketetapan harus memerangi Islamofobia, ini juga nggak akan selesai. Karena apa? Manusia itu pikirannya macam-macam. Pikirannya macam-macam. Tidak ada pikiran manusia yang satu, itu tidak ada. Nah, saudara-saudara, dengan menyikapi semua itu seperti ajaran ilahi yang seperti ini, maka terjadilah sikap yang assalam, rahmah, dan barokah tadi. Dan itu simbol kita. Simbol kita. Saudara-saudara, perjalanan kalau kita ikuti ribu-ribu tahun sebelum Masehi, ada Ibrahim alaihissalam. Kemudian melahirkan putra-putra. Kemudian satu dalam jangka panjang baru mengeluarkan turunan yang menjadi pimpinan umat manusia. Yang satu lagi terus berurutan sampai 12 bani yang kemudian terkenal dengan Bani Israel. Yang kemudian melahirkan Yudaisme. Yudaisme yang diambil daripada Taurat Musa dan Zabur Daud. Kemudian daripada itu keluarlah bangsa yang namanya Yahudi. Agama Yahudi. Dalam agama Yahudi, dalam orang Yahudi itu ada makhluk Allah yang kemudian jadi nabi sebelum Isa, yaitu Yohanes, Yahya, yang kemudian membaptis seorang pemuda yang namanya Isa, yang kemudian menjadi Al-Masih. Al-Masih itu yang membawa agama sesungguhnya hukum Taurat yang dibawa. Kemudian dalam perjalanan panjangnya maka keluarlah Kristen bahasanya, atau Nasrani. Saudara-saudara, perjalanan sepanjang itu isinya adalah mempertahankan pemahaman dan perang. Terus. Dari sejak Nabi Ibrahim itu sudah ada itu peperangan. Kalau Nabi Ibrahim peperangannya karena ada penyamun harta. Kemudian lanjut perang. Tidak pernah berhenti, apatah lagi tatkala Bani Israel sampai kepada pendudukan daripada Bukit Zion dan Zaitun. Di sana terus perang, silih berganti, Yunani masuk, Romawi masuk, Persia masuk. Sampai menjelang lahir Nabi Isa, itu Yerusalem masih dalam kungkungan orang-orang Persia dan lain-lain. Nah, saudara-saudara, itu menandakan bahwa peperangan itu tidak pada zaman ini saja. Dari dulu mempertahankan agama ya dengan perang. Dari dulu. Maka banyak perang yang atas nama Tuhan. Tuhannya sama tapi kok berperang gitu. Jadi perang atas nama Tuhan itu dari dulu. Jangan heran kalau sekarang juga ada perang atas nama Tuhan. Kok begitu? Itulah dunia. Nah, maka dihadapilah dengan idfa' billati hiya ahsan tadi. Sampai tahun 600 datang Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Masuk ke Persia, masuk ke Syria. Membawa dagangan dan belajar. Jangan pernah mengatakan Nabi Muhammad tidak pernah mempelajari kehidupan sosial masyarakat ketika itu. Maka banyak orang yang mengenali bahwa orang yang seperti ini, inilah cara. Nah, inilah calon daripada pimpinan masa depan atau nabi akhir zaman. Ciri-cirinya ada. Namanya pun Muhammad Al-Mahmud. Ahmad. Belajarnya kepada orang Nasrani. Sampai pada sholat rukuk sujud itu pun melihat orang Nasrani. Nasrani yang mana? Mungkin yang sekarang adalah Nasrani ortodok. Karena ortodok hari ini rukuk sujud takbir itu ada. Itulah barangkali yang ditengok di Syria ketika itu. Yang sekarang terus ke timur, berpusat di Rusia. Jadi Rusia hari ini bukan sekedar karena menyerang Ukraina. Maka diperangi oleh orang-orang yang lain. Hari ini sesungguhnya perang agama. Putin adalah ortodok, terus Eropa dan Amerika itu Katolik dan Protestan. Tidak pernah berhenti. Nah, Muhammad Rasulullah belajar kepada melihat sholatnya itu. Oh, kalau gitu belajar. Ajaran Nabi Muhammad itu bukan baru. Meneruskan ajaran-ajaran para anbiyaullah. Karena apa? Inna dina indallahil Islam. Dari dulu sampai kapanpun din Allah itu namanya Islam. Perdamaian. Jangan diterjemahkan Islam yang sekarang itu agama ansih. Islam makna al-Islamu yakni perdamaian. Jadi agama Allah itu satu. Agama perdamaian. Namanya Islam yang dikutip oleh kita sekarang, agama begitu kita namakan Islam. Nah, saudara-saudara, perjalanan seperti ini, Kanjeng Nabi tampil juga dihujat. Ajaran sesat lah, apalah, inilah. Jadi tidak pernah berhenti itu. Islamofobia itu. Apakah sekarang berhenti? Kan tidak toh. Coba kita ukur. 622 kepada 2022, berapa tahun itu? 1400 kan? Nah, 1200, 1400. 2000 ya 1400. 1400 tahun yang lalu sampai hari ini Islamofobia itu terus ada. Maka memaknai semua ini, mari kita perdalam ilmu kita. Kita perluas pikir kita. Saudara-saudara, tahun 620-an itu, tatkala Kanjeng Nabi dibahasakan Isra Mi'raj. Minal Masjidil Haram ilal Masjidil Aqsa. Kalau saudara-saudara terjemahkan hari ini, seakan-akan Masjidil Haram yang hari ini mentereng itu, yang punya jam tinggi menyaingi jam yang ada di Inggris sana, GMT itu. Kemudian Masjidil Aqsa yang kubahnya emas seperti kubah Masjid Rahmatan Lil Alamin, bukan. Tidak ada wujudnya. Masjidil Haram tidak ada wujudnya. Masjidil Aqsa pun tidak ada wujudnya. Tapi Nabi Muhammad mengatakan masjid. Apa itu artinya? Masjidil Aqsa yang sekarang kita sebut Masjidil Aqsa, bukan itu yang dinamakan Masjidil Aqsa dalam surat Al-Isra. Bukan yang sekarang kita lihat itu. Masjidil Haram juga bukan seperti yang kita lihat hari ini. Cuma karena itu sudah menjadi definisi umum, maka Masjidil Haram yang di Mekah hari ini ada, Masjidil Aqsa yang di Yerusalem itu ada. Nah, ini saja akan menimbulkan Islamofobia. Nah, maka tatkala Kanjeng Nabi berkiblat kepada Masjidil Aqsa, itu arahnya yang dituju. Kemudian karena sudah ada bimbingan fawalli wajhaka syatral Masjidil Haram, kembali masuklah menghadap ke Ka'bah. Nah, kalau kita tidak mendalami itu, nanti kita mendengarkan sindiran orang bahwa Islam itu pelin-pelan dari Masjid Aqsa kemudian ke Masjidil Haram, jengkel. Nah, maka dalami sejarah. Dalami sejarah. Saudara-saudara sekalian, Islamofobia sekali lagi itu tidak akan berhenti. Dan bahkan Islamofobia itu tidak hanya dari orang yang tidak mengerti Islam atau orang yang memang membenci Islam. Islamofobia itu tumbuh antar Islam golongan dengan Islam golongan lain. Nah, bagaimana kalau ada orang mengatakan orang-orang Iran Syiah itu bukan Islam, gitu kan namanya Islamofobia itu. Nah, coba dipahami itu. Orang-orang Iran yang katanya agamanya Syiah bukan agama Islam, gitu kan. Nah, ini juga kata orang Iran, ya ini Islamofobia ini. Nah, jadi karena saking panjangnya, hal ata 'alal insan hinum minad dahri lam yakun syai'an madhkura. Manusia ini berjalan di atas sejarah yang berabad-abad yang manusia tidak bisa menghitungnya. Nah, disitulah agama pun begitu. Jadi agama ini punya anatomi juga. Awal cukup hanya kepada Kanjeng Nabi. Kemudian Kanjeng Nabi wafat, mencari. Ada Khalifatul Rasul. Setelah Khalifatul Rasul 4 selesai, mencari. Bahkan membuat dinasti-dinasti. Terus inilah yang mengatakan bahwa ajaran itu menjadi bersuku-suku, bermadhab-madhab. Dan itu kan dibenarkan ya. Kalau dulu ada nabi ya gampang, sekarang nggak ada nabi harus cari. Nah, ini juga menimbulkan Islamofobia yang wujud daripada cara berpikir yang tidak berdasarkan al-huda wa dinul haq. Jadi sekali lagi mari kita menggali. Kata Bung Karno itu dig up the fire of Islam. Nah, gitu kan. Menggali apinya Islam. Karena Bung Karno itu bahasa apinya Islam itu bukan api nerakanya, tapi intinya itu harus digali. Mari kita terus bergerak seperti itu dengan doa Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, diikuti merdeka. Merdeka roh, merdeka fikir, merdeka ilmu. Nah ini saudara-saudara sebagai ya katakanlah sambungan daripada Al-Ustaz Tariq Ramadan yang telah menyampaikan tentang Islamofobia yang dengan detail tadi. Dan mudah-mudahan kita bisa mengambil saripatinya dan yakini bahwa apapun kita membendungnya tidak akan berhenti, silih berganti. Yang sekarang menjadi kawan, datang lagi Islamofobia yang baru. Dan itulah kehidupan. Nah, maka ada namanya jannatun tajri min tahtihal anhar. Artinya semua ini berjalan tidak pernah berhenti seperti air yang tidak pernah berhenti. Hadza wallahu yar'ana wa yakhfaduna walhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Merdeka.
Hadirin yang berbahagia, usai sudah acara kita pada hari ini, mari kita sempurnakan dengan berhamdalah. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Merdeka. Hadirin disilakan untuk mengambil menu sungkai dan dapat melanjutkan aktivitas masing-masing.